Appreciate you being here. Excited to finally be in game week. 3 weeks of school prior to the first game is unique. I think the kids have handled it well. I think it's been good for us from getting our legs back from the start of camp and practicing every day. I think that's been good. From a health status update, hopefully reduce the questions regarding that. We talked about Derek. I'm not going to get in any details in specifics about any injuries, and I know Nate will ask me which leg or which toe or which this, but so I'm really the world I'd like to live in is give you the status best as I can and leave it at that, and then anything observable, like obviously it's his knee. He's gonna right now projected to be out for the season, so that's where I feel most comfortable. Jacoby Smith, right now, all indicators are that he will practice tomorrow, so probably in a limited fashion to work his way through the week, but he's excited. Raequan Williams continues to work his way back and is probable for the game, so that's a good thing. We got a number of other guys just with treatments and things like that that is a part of football. Trey Hendrickson sounds like he'll do everything tomorrow in practice, so good signs in terms of where we are. Kamar Downer will be non-contact here early in the week, but again, will be available for the game. So in terms of guys that, like I said, with Derek out for the season, you know Jay Miner is as well, and Anthony Hamilton and Tavares Harrison, those guys out for the season. So with that being said, Tulsa, certainly a challenge, a road game. Excited to see what our goals are in terms of one of them is win a road game. So excited to see how we perform and prepare from that standpoint. Plenty of challenges. He's a heck of a football coach. All you have to do is read his bio and speaks for itself. And powerful offense, tops in the country for the last several years. And all indicators are that he's going to be calling the plays from everything I've read. And and the thing about Tulsa is their talent with their two receivers and the complements to them. Their strengths play right into what I know Montgomery's going to want to do, which is as fast as he possibly can go and put the ball up. And so it's going to be a challenge from that standpoint. Defensively, they have a defensive lineman up front that got some all-conference honors for them last year, Derek Alexander, a 290-pounder that has talent. So we got challenges this week. And in terms of our depth chart, not going to release anything until tomorrow afternoon. That's when I'm going to release that. So I'll answer questions regarding that as best as I can, but we won't be ready to release it till tomorrow afternoon. So with no further opening statements, fire away.
How did the weather this past week and everything that you've been dealing with, did that affect game week preparation at all?
It affected some of the timing of our practices. We went earlier yesterday than we normally would have. We reversed a practice one day. I can't remember, Ian, if you were here or not that day. We went from team and worked our way back to individual because there was pending weather coming from the south. But I got to give a ton of credit to all of our support people and across the street on campus also. I mean, there's a ton of people that were ready and on call, and we had a couple cities in play if we had to go somewhere. We had a facility down in Davie on call if we needed to practice somewhere early in the morning. We would have had to been there early, but we would have had a chance to practice in the bubble. So really appreciate all the people putting the work in. And to answer your question more directly, really got everything in that we hoped we would.
Does the sudden onslaught of sunshine affect the way you practice this week?
No, I think we'll be in good shape and go as normal. No. Not sure if that was a joke or not.
Given how the team is right now as far as health-wise, I'm imagining you have to be pretty pleased given that the majority of the guys have gone through camp and you don't seem to have any sort of conditioning worries with guys with cramps and things of that nature.
Yeah, we've had a few guys cramp up. I mean, the heat down here is real. I mean, there's a couple days that I went to John and the heat index is in the lower 1 teens, and that's significant. So we did have a few guys cramping, but that will be a tremendous challenge for us, especially on the defensive side of the ball, with anticipating somewhere between 80 and 100 plays based on their tempo. So I guess I'll be able to answer that question after the game on Saturday.
You always worry about injuries with the first game and playing a fast tempo team. Are you thinking to maybe throw more bodies out there than maybe later on in the season, or will you kind of just give your guys your go?
No, I think if you just go by math, right? I mean, I came from a place where 63, 64 was a lot of plays. right? And then come here, and obviously the tempo's a little different, and we're potentially going to be 70, 80, 90 plays on our offense, and same on the other side. And so you're a game and a half. You're going to have multiple people playing so that you're strong in the fourth quarter. So we'll play a decent number of people on both sides of the ball.
You're releasing the depth chart tomorrow. Is that because you want to get a look at some of these guys one more time, or have you made your decisions on where they fall?
We made most of the decisions, but there still is some competition, and want to see where some of the guys that are on limited monitored reps see truly where they are health-wise on a Tuesday of a game week. All those things play into it.
From a standpoint of looking at the tape from Baylor, a couple, the last couple of years,
And Oklahoma State.
yeah, and seeing the person, but specifically for Tulsa's offense,
Mhm.
seeing that tape with this personnel, do you get a sense that there could be something that you haven't, like a wrinkle you haven't seen, or is there always sort of that
Oh, yeah.
trepidation that, like,
Sure.
because of who Montgomery is, he's going to throw something at us that maybe we haven't seen or isn't on film the last 3 to 4 years?
Well, I think the personnel at Tulsa plays right into what Baylor showed schematically. So I think it's more what did Coach Montgomery research in the offseason that we can't anticipate and that we're going to have to do a good job of adjusting to. And same with Coach Young. I mean, I've known Bill Young for a long time. I think the world of Bill Young. He's one of my favorite coaches and human beings out there. And he's a very good football coach, and he's done it a long time at a lot of different high-level universities. But what has he adjusted to over the course of the last couple of years? There's things that we're not going to be able to anticipate until we see them, irregardless of what they feel Tulsa's personnel is.
Does there become a point in the game planning of the game where, like you said, it could get to 80, 90, but is there a certain point that you sort of mark down as the coaching staff has come to agreement on that if the game goes a certain way in the first half, we either stay tempo and we full throttle 190, 90, 100 plays, or is there a certain point where the game might be going a certain way and we need to adjust?
From how we're running our offense, Nate, is that what
where
you're
we
asking?
need to run the ball or take more time off the clock. I mean, is there a certain point or a certain indicator where you guys have talked about whether or not the second half will be mirroring the first half at all?
Well, we'll certainly discuss where the situation is at halftime. I think with the offense being what I think it will be from Tulsa, I think you've got to keep your foot on the throttle for the majority of the game. If it's going well for us, I think we need to be careful about going into something that we're not. The good thing about Brian's offense is there is multiple tempos that, even though we move pretty quick, we can eat up a decent amount of the play clock. We've spent as much time, Chuck, you know this, and Nate, you've joined us again. We've used the play clock as much this fall camp as any camp I've been a part of. I mean, we instituted that very quickly. And part of that was so that we could get a feel for all the different tempos we can use. So that's very adjustable even within a series if we feel we need to do that.
The personnel of Tulsa was one, a team that you handled pretty well when they came here last year. I mean, new coach, but similar players. So does that switch your confidence level? Do you come in saying, hey, we beat these guys by almost 30 points last year. We can go there and get another W?
You know what cliche is probably going to come out. I mean, last year's last year. I mean, right down the cliche, and it's true. I mean, they're a completely new team. We are a completely new team. We've made significant changes, as obviously they have with a new staff. So, their quarterback, as I believe it's 18 starts and 4,000 yards. I mean, something crazy like that. They garner our respect, and I think a lot of what Coach Montgomery does. So, we're confident in ourselves. But we know we have to perform to have a chance to beat Tulsa.
Coming off that, this was heading into your first game one as a head football coach this time last year. Is there a different feeling now, a little more confidence from you heading in that you kind of know what to expect and you're not going at Nebraska or at Alabama? Is there a difference in your mentality?
Well, I feel my confidence level, I was confident a year ago. My confidence level a year ago was high. I mean, we went into those games with the intent to perform well. Where my confidence is higher this year is I feel more prepared. I've been through some things. I've studied some things. The way I approached this morning, without getting into any detail, is different in terms of what I watch and the discussions we've had as coaching staff. So, yeah, I'm very comfortable now in this role going into a game week.
You've put a lot of benchmarks since you've been here about where I want to be after the first season, where I want to be as far as recruiting, where I want to be entering this season. For you guys to become bowl eligible and to have a successful season, what are the things that you are looking most for from the players and the coaching staff, and how the two interact with one another?
Well, it's a very good question. There's three things that we talk about. One is our four pillars, which you see all over the building if you walk around downstairs, and that's the culture that ties in on and off the field, right? I mean, that's what we live by. The second thing is what's our on-field culture. It's 5 seconds of relentless effort and focus. That's what I want to see. 5 seconds at a time. You focus and you give tremendous effort. And then the third thing is every unit fighting to be the strongest unit on the football team. If we have all 10 units fighting to be that strongest unit, then we're going to be pretty good. I want that chain that Chuck has seen and you're learning about and have read about to mean something. We fight for that chain because our link is going to be the strongest on the team. And I hope it's hard for me on Sundays to pick who it is because they're all performing at a level that way.
Do anything different in your travel this year? Try to check up, maybe give you an edge on the road that you didn't have last year, something you learned last year that you don't want to do this year?
No, nothing major, Chuck. Our struggles on the road were not because of a 30 minutes here or a meeting there or a walkthrough here or there. That really had nothing to do with our struggles. We reset the culture, we rebuilt it. We're a completely different roster. We got a group that believes in ourselves right now. So there's been a couple little tweaks, but nothing noteworthy.
What were their struggles?
On the road? Again, last year's last year. It's pretty easy to see. I mean, we need to protect the football. We need to make plays in the red zone and stop big plays. It's funny because you've heard me say this a million times. It's not NASA, guys. It's really not. It's build a culture where you can trust each other and people are accountable, and then protect the football and get it away. And we're not building rockets.
You talked about, I know we talked specifically on media day about sort of the changes that you're seeing, how you can incrementally see some of the things change with the culture or the program as a whole. But as far as taking that leap or that next step, how much can a win over Tulsa to start the year 1-0 to really sort of reinforce everything that you've been sort of preaching for the last however few months? How much can that sort of, enhance the transition or the jump, sort of the way the program will be?
Well, I don't know how you put a rating on that. I mean, we all know that winning is important. We've had a lot of wins around here in the last 8 months. Now we're looking to get wins on Saturdays, and this coming Saturday is one of our 12 opportunities. So I guess you'd say it's 1/12 in terms of the scales of importance, right? I mean, we need to win games, and that's one of our opportunities.
Is that the hardest part of the process of, like, you can win today with sort of a kid in the classroom or learning a scheme or spending more time with coaches or learn something or different technique in practice, but is winning the games the hardest part of that sort of process?
Of all the things you're fighting to win, no, honestly. It's getting the culture set to get you in position where you can win games. They all tie together. If you have a bunch of kids that aren't handling their business, it's going to be hard to win games. It is, because you're going to be distracted and you're going to have less time to focus on coaching. We're in a place right now where we're spending the majority of our time on coaching. And again, a lot of people deserve credit for that. From Marlon DeChaussee and his staff to, I can go on, to John Burnside and Chuck Lobey and all the people that have helped us get to this point. We are better equipped right now to win games than we were a year ago. The challenge is some of the equipment is very young. So we've got to be smart that way and understand there's going to be youthful mistakes.
When you're talking about this first game, the potential victory, and the players in here, we're talking about this being a bowl team. And there are a lot of roads you can take to being a bowl if you look at the schedule.
Sure.
But the path becomes, it seems like, significantly easier if you win this first game.
Because you knock out one of the 7.
7.
To guarantee it? To guarantee it, 7. Yeah, I mean 6, then you're leaving it up to someone else. So The number we put on it is 7. So yeah, you've significantly knocked it down because now you only have 6 with 11 games. You're right.
It's not any different going to Tulsa than to Alabama or to Nebraska to open up the year?
Well, it certainly is. I think that rephrase the question.
Well, just what is the difference opening up against, on the road, against teams that have won multiple national championships against on the road a non-Power 5 team with a new coach and
Sure. I think, part of it is Nebraska is a program where they had a coach in place, returning football coach. Now we've got the challenge of a new football coach. So that's some of the big differences. Power 5, non-Power 5, to me, that's neither here nor there. We are accommodating for cost of attendance. We have 85 scholarships. The transfer rules are the same. That's a little bit blown out of proportion, in my opinion. Not a lot has changed other than the title because of playoffs and Power 5. And so that to me is not a relevant point. The difference really is Tulsa specifically versus Nebraska. Okay, a returning coach versus a new coach, an 80,000 seat stadium versus a little bit smaller stadium, but they're promoting their whiteout, and I anticipate a crowd. And Kansas State was every bit as loud with 40,000. You know this from being in that league, Ian, as pick the biggest, stadium in the league. So I think there's a lot of similarities, but there's differences too, like every week.
Have you talked to the kids about that specifically about, hey, we don't know what the atmosphere might be, but it could be pretty, it could be pretty tough to play in?
It's really, we've been instituting crowd noise a decent amount this camp. We'll have those specific discussions. That's usually part of our Tuesday morning team meeting, showing pictures of the stadium and some of those things. We didn't want to get so far ahead on Tulsa where the prep became monotonous. So we eased into it. We spent 3 days of introducing periods, the last 3 days of practice, and we'll go full scale pictures of the stadium, details on personnel, all those things this week.
I know you guys, the coaches, have been emphasizing Tulsa, but as soon as you leave the Oakley Center, all you hear is Miami, coming to town. Have you done anything special in the last couple days to make sure that these guys aren't looking ahead?
You know what? Something like that. I think if you try and say, don't think about Miami, I think you're burying your head in the sand. So, and this where honestly I'm pretty excited about this group, and I saw a sign of maturity. It's one of the many signs I've seen. Earlier in camp, we were talking about some goals and what are some key games, and no, I'm not going to disclose them all, but they did not say Miami, which struck me as almost funny. So I said, guys, Miami's not a big game to you, and there was a silence. I think I've talked about this a little bit. So the bottom line is we hit it head on and said, guys, it's okay. We all know it's a big opportunity to have Miami come in here. That's fine. Let's not ignore it and pretend it's not there. So we talked about it and marked it as a game that, yes, that's one we'd love to have a chance to have success in that night. So really just talk about it head on. We spent a couple days, or I should say periods of days earlier in camp on other opponents. We spent a couple periods on Marshall, our conference champion. We spent a couple periods on Miami, a big game. We spent a couple periods on International, our rival. So we throw in some periods so that we're not trying to pretend it's not there. It's there. Let's address it. Now let's focus on this now. And I think it's been good.
you may have given away what the important games are then when you just pointed out those. You don't have to point out exactly who they are, but how many important games do the guys mark?
Several.
Exactly.
Exactly several. Exactly more than 2.
Well, did it impress you because it was more or less, let's focus on the impact of the conference games and how they may affect the conference standings and the potential to be in a bowl game versus one night, one specific opponent, sort of bragging rights surrounding it?
The mature back and forth was what impressed me. There was not an immature, when we started discussing goals, Like, the only goal we're gonna put out there is be undefeated and win a national title. That to me is, you've got some work to do. But we could talk about specific goals that have a timing component to it. Today is the last day of one of our goals. And depending on how we finish today, we'll decide whether we achieve that goal. You realize today, think about this, the first quarter of our season is over. It's a 4-month season. We're a month in. A quarter of the season is done. And we were able to articulate that to the players, and they understood it well. So that kind of back and forth was pretty vital. And we talked about the 4 quarters of a season. September is a quarter. We'd like to come out and win the first quarter, which finishes today, and then hopefully the second quarter, which is September.
Quinn's talked a little bit about the quarters
Mhm.
as well. Talking about the stuff, the interesting thing to me was that in their postseason wasn't a part of that 4 quarters. Is that something that you address? Do you call it overtime, like Chuck said? It was just a little interesting to me to break it down in that and
Sure.
not include the postseason.
But if you have you have a guaranteed season, right? I mean, we're kind of arguing about semantics here a little bit, right? I mean, I get where you're coming from. If we win each of the 4 quarters, that takes care of itself. Now, do we have postseason goals up on our goal board? Heck yeah, we do. Better believe it. And I've been pretty open about those too. Win a bowl game, fight to win the conference championship. Obviously, to get there, you have to win the Eastern Division. So there's postseason goals up there, but we need to win our 4 quarters that we're guaranteed to even have those conversations.
I want to switch to the defense real quick because
Ours or theirs?
yours. Sorry.
Okay.
So your guys' defense. Because of everything that obviously we discussed prior,
Mhm.
there's a clear indication that a lot of the veteran leadership on the defense is up front, and
Mhm.
a lot of the maybe inexperienced but talent is sort of in the secondary. Do you?
Except for Cravon and Niesman,
Right.
2 of the 4, but I'm
Maybe
hearing you.
Mysterio as well. But obviously,
I hear you, yeah. I get it.
you see where I'm going. With the defensive line knowing one another, playing together for 2-3 years, having a sort of understanding of what each role is versus, these young guys in the back who may not have as much experience as them. Do you sort of put an emphasis on the defensive line to say, like, this is your game because it's the first game of the season, because the secondary isn't as experienced or hasn't played together like you guys have?
Sure, and we do the same within the secondary. I mean, we're going to ask Cravon LeBlanc to do more than some of our younger guys that'll be involved in the game. I think to not do that would be crazy. So yeah, does it only apply to D-line versus this, it applies within the back end as well.
You were talking about one of your stated goals is then to eliminate the big plays.
Mhm.
This doesn't seem like the easiest offense to start
No.
out of this game.
So shouldn't it be relative to the offense?
Should it?
Yes, of course. I mean, if you have a rushing goal to keep everybody under 100 yards, and if you're playing Navy, I mean, right? Let common sense prevail. Tell you how much film I'm watching. Is Tulsa going to make a big play here or there? Yes. Are we going to panic? No. It's plus you got to remember there's a chance they get 80 or 90 plays.
Yeah.
So it's relative to ratio and who they are.
Is there a chance also that, is there something to be said for going up against an explosive offense like this to see where you are in terms of that goal?
Without a doubt. Yeah, it is.
Does that excite you?
Very much.
Does it help knowing that because you expect the explosive plays, you can sort of focus on other things like third down efficiency and red zone protection? I mean, does that sort of play into the idea of knowing that you expect them to make a certain number of plays that will be big?
I mean, red zone and third down is part of our game prep every week. It's not like I'm going to walk out and say, hey, guess what, Tulsa, you get 8 big plays today, so let's go down to the red zone. I mean, so no, I mean, we do our best to stay up on the upfield shoulder and make sure we've got all routes covered down. And if a run breaks through, we get it down for a minimal gain. And then when we get in the red zone, we've invested a lot of time and focus on red zone and third down stops and fourth down stops. Because Coach Montgomery historically has gone for a lot. I think it was in the upper 30s maybe lower 40s last year that he went for it on fourth down. So we're also prepared for once they get to the minus 40 in, okay, we're in 4-down territory here, guys, so we got to think of it that. So there's a lot of scenarios built within that.
There's been, is that a way, did you change play call or practicing maybe fourth down defensive situations more? Is there a way to?
Well, it's just really what changes if you're in a world where you're going against a coach that is willing to go for it, it changes your third down. Because 3rd and 6 might actually be 3rd and 3. So that's where it's tweaked and adjusted.
There's been studies.
Mm-hmm. There has been?
Yes, there's been studies the last couple of years about the mathematics and the thought process behind fourth down situations and whether you should go for them and whether you shouldn't. And like you said, sort of the positioning of the field, whether you're in the middle of the field or 40 in. Have you looked at those and sort of readjusted your sort of thoughts, or are you and Brian come together and said, depending on the leadership of Jaquez and the fact that you have a more experienced offense, that you might buy into some of those statistical formulas that suggest, hey, if it's 4th and 2 from, this certain position on the field, mathematics show that you could actually have something to gain for it from going for it than just punting or kicking a field goal?
Well, the thing I believe that me and all of us as coaches are in a better place is that, without completely directly answering your question, I'm excited about our communication level on game day. And again, without getting too deep into it, we're going to have a plan for what we do on fourth down, and that plan will be adjustable, discussed ahead of time with more detail than I've ever been around in my past, and certainly than we had a year ago, and it's part of growth. I mean, you should always improve from the year before. I don't care if you're 15-0. I don't care. You should be better at something than the year before, and that's something that we'll be better at.
Your Bill Young relationship, where does that go back to? And how much in common do you guys still keep in touch?
Well, it's I won't bore you. You can edit wherever you choose, right? So in 1995, I was a high school coach at Valley High School in West Des Moines for Gary Swenson, who's been now a perennial state championship level coach. You might even know about that program being up there for a while. First clinic I ever went to was at KCI Airport. Bill Young had just come, I think, from Ohio State to Oklahoma or vice versa, and he was showing clips of one of the school he came from with the other sweater, and at that time it blew my mind because I think I was 21 or 22 years old and I didn't get it. So, long story boring, he ends up working with Dave Dorn at Kansas. Dave Dorn and I went to Drake together. Dave's the current head coach at NC State. So I saw this guy, the first clinic I ever went to, first clinician I ever listened to, and then I ended up getting a personal connection through Dave, and then he comes down here, he's coaching for the Hurricanes. I was at Iowa State, he's at Kansas, we have all these ties, and long story short, we end up forging a relationship. He came to Arkansas, he's a D-line guy by trade, so we sat in on the D-line meetings at Arkansas, and that was a moment for me just because here I am coaching, and there sits the guy that was at the very first clinic I ever went to. So a very long, drawn-out story, but small world.
Will you talk with him about Miami?
I think he's so far removed. Probably not.
How much have you talked with, I know there's sort of moments where we see with Schoenberger talking, because you want to get sort of the program back to where Schoenberg sort of established it, how nice is it to have him be someone to lean on and to bounce ideas off of and understand sort of what he envisioned for at a certain point and now what you're trying to implement?
I mean, it's Howard Schnellenberger, right? It kind of speaks for itself. I have the fortune of having a legend in our business about quarter mile away. So I love when he comes out. I embrace it. It's more big picture conversations. It doesn't get to the micro level. It's more motivational. Where are your kids at? How do you feel their health is? What are you doing with this big tent? We never had tents when I was out here. But he's awesome. I love it. I'm glad he's around.
You come out to practice and saw a tent out there, you would have flipped out. It was
Oh, when he was coaching?
Like, if somebody just erected a tent,
Oh.
these players will like this.
When he came out, it was second or third practice or whatever, and I said, I went right up to him. Were you standing there? I can't remember exactly how I worded it, but I said, Coach, before you say anything. I went into my explanation. He just,